Hello, everyone. This is Coach Sandra Rojo. Welcome again. I know it's been a long time since I last recorded a video, so here I am. I've been busy with other projects, and so videos haven't actually been my main priority. I decided I wanted to answer a question from a client of mine who grew up with a religious background that basically said to, turn the other cheek and forgive right away, even if you don't really like the individual. So her question is, and I have it written down here, she says, what if I don't like someone but was brought up to believe in finding the good in that individual? So I think this is a very good question. And I know that we see a lot of really positive uh, posts out there in social media, where they always tell you to, look for the good, don't look at the negative, and all of these things. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think that there definitely is a way that we can find something positive all the time in everything. I don't believe in being blind to the fact that people can hurt us, that we feel wronged or whatever. But this is also perception. It's what we hold inside of ourselves. So the first thing that I want to address here is that please don't, I'm giving you permission. If you don't do this, uh, you don't have to go from being, triggered with anger, with sadness, whatever it is that you're feeling, directly to talking yourself into finding something positive or something good in the individual that you're having an issue with. This is not as easy as of a transaction as we would like it to be. And it's wonderful and it's noble to try to see immediately the positive, but it's almost like a defense mechanism. It's almost like saying, I'm going to be in denial about it. I'm going to be in denial about what I feel. Then there's the other extreme where people actually want to justify why they can't see something good or something positive in an unpleasant situation or with an individual, because again, this is subjective. What we might think somebody else is not good or have a bad vibe or they're negative may simply be because of our paradigm. I've talked about this before in other videos, where our reality or our perception is reality. So what may seem very assertive or aggressive to someone else may just simply be, in my point of view, an individual who just wants to get something done, a task or a work project done. And so they're just getting to the point. And some people can be threatened or feel threatened by directness, right? By direct people. I don't feel that way. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't take it personally. I don't expect everyone to, I mean, of course, there needs to be respect and there needs to be some pleasantry, I suppose. And if you can bring some humor into more stressful work environments, for example, I think that that's perfectly appropriate. So that would be my take on that, and in a particular specific situation like that. And so I don't believe actually necessarily in turning the other cheek, in the sense of that we just need to deny what we feel. I think it's really important, and I've used this term before, pull back, to be able to pull back from our situation and discharge any emotionality in what we're experiencing. Not try to hide it, to say, oh, our intuition is this or that. It doesn't matter what system, whether you're in human design, whether you're in astrology, esoteric astrology, whether you believe in karma or Eastern religions, even some Christianity. I don't know a lot about Islam, but I would imagine that too would, I don't know other religions. I'm just saying in Hinduism and every philosophy that you can think of, there's this truth, this sort of universal truth that says that it's important to sit back. And I think turning the other cheek really kind of means sitting back and not overreacting, or not just being able to cool it and reflect on, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. People unintentionally miscommunicate. I do it myself, so I try to be really good about asking questions. Just today, just today I was on a walk with my husband in the morning, and we were talking about consulting just in general. We were talking about a couple of things, and I noticed that we were kind of going back and forth. And before it got a little bit more intense, I said, well, wait a minute, let's stop for a moment. Let me ask you a question. I said, what in this context, what do you mean by consulting? What does consulting mean to you? So that, because we might be on the same page, and then we might be inadvertently causing, argument when there really isn't need for it. And then so once he identified what that meant, once I got a clear picture of what he meant by consulting in the context of our conversation, it was a smooth transaction, if you get my gist. And so that's what I'm talking about. We're looking at subjectivity and so forth. Okay. So, what did I wrote down some notes, so pardon me. So when we experience another person in a sort of negative way, or we get a hit where it just feels negative, I'm not saying don't honor that. We want to take a look at what that means to us, but we cannot make a decision based on that first hit. At least I don't believe that. If you do and it's worked for you, then that's really great. But as somebody who is an intuitive, somebody who would give intuitive readings and was spot on a lot, let's just put it that way, even in my personal development, even within my growth and dealing with people, and I had limiting beliefs that I had to overcome about an individual or about a situation, and then reframe it. So I'm inviting all of you to reframe a situation. It's not always that someone hits us the wrong way, or that they're not good people, or they don't have a good vibe, or they're this or they're that, or whatever labels we give them. It's true that first impressions are everything. It's true that sometimes we cannot be in a good mood, or that we don't explain ourselves properly. The other people are the same way. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So one of the things is to focus on you. So the answer to the question of this client of mine is, you don't have to find something good about that individual, especially if you really don't know them. I mean, again, it depends on the situation, but the rule of thumb for me, and what I do for myself, and what I would suggest, is to take a step back, because we all have triggers. For whatever reason, that individual rubbed you the wrong way. They said something, they wrote something, they gesticulated, God knows, a way that just triggered you. And we know, scientifically proven, that our brain, right, our neurons are starting to fire. And so before we get a hold of what that means and what that process is, we're immediately jumping to conclusions. And what I'm saying is, pull back, honor what you feel, take some time out, reflect, do techniques if you know those techniques, or go ask someone for help, with that, to facilitate that. Don't make any decisions or response, to whatever you were triggered about, because then that would be being defensive. And then once you've cleared out that emotionality, you can make a better decision. You can then be able to notice what triggered you. You know, if you still have mom and dad issues, people, which we all at some point do. And I mean, even my father, who's 85 years old, you know, he's such an inspiration because I, you know, do a lot of the tapping with him, and 85 years old. And he's been working on some of his mom issues after all these years. And he's seen a difference, and even his memory is improved, right? Because he doesn't have all that emotionality stuck with him. And he's not buying into also the fact that he's perfect and that he should know everything, and that, you know, because I'm whatever, you know, that I'm okay. We're all a work in progress. We are all moving towards healing. When we resolve one thing, something else arises, and that's perfectly fine. We're on the right path. But when we are in denial, when we're in blame shifting, when we're projecting, when we're labeling other people, when we're jumping to conclusions, when we're making assumptions, and we're not allowing the mindful pause, we're not allowing ourselves to detach for a moment so that we can reflect on what's really happening, it's going to be very difficult to be able to see the positive in that particular situation. It's going to be difficult to see even a positive, something good about the other individual. And you can extend this as well to other scenarios in our life. It could be groups of people, it could be whatever. It's a mindset. It's a mindset shift that we're looking for. But the purpose of this is that we want to focus on us. We don't want to immediately find, oh, this person must have something good, because then we take the focus off of us, and then we're trying to still look for something in that other person that may or may not exist. And when you're focusing too much on looking for the good, I mean, if this is the way the question was asked, the good in the other person, then we are not, then we take ourselves, well, we're outside of ourselves, and we're still looking for outside proof that we shouldn't either feel the way we do, which can take us into feeling guilty, or it just keeps us stuck. Whereas to say, pull back, pause, you know, what does this mean to me? How am I learning from this? Where have I felt this before? Where is it in my body? What does this remind me of? And then if you do know that this person triggered you a certain way, again, depending on the situation, because I'm speaking generically, and you've discharged that emotionality, you may even be brave enough, which is so good for personal development, to actually give that individual an opportunity again. And this is the way we grow and we learn how to manage. And this is how we gain experience. Now, this video is not to encourage that if you do this exactly, you're going to have this outcome, because you're an individual, I'm an individual, we all have our stories, we all have our mindsets that we have to take a look at, we have our own history, we hold on to feelings, people, negative, positive, because we have our narratives going on. And so I'm not going to tell you that exactly if you do it this way, you know, you're going to always have a positive outcome. I think that we all need to stop looking for the perfect formula to get rid of our problems and have healthy, beautiful relationships for the rest of our life. I think that the way we do that is still a little bit of a longer course. And I think that's done through neuroscience. I think that's done through some very few but very effective techniques. But even that, right, it takes some time to be able to overcome some of those triggers that we have. So without trying to sound like I'm contradicting myself, I do believe that we can overcome and become healthier. If not, we wouldn't ever grow or do our personal development. So I do believe in that. But I think the road to that requires us to face our fears and to face and to face them with humility, to not do the spiritual bypassing, whether you're a Christian New Ager or astrologist or, whatever. I mean, I just I don't believe that. I just haven't had really I've experimented with that. I've tried to disassociate myself from people that I thought were toxic. And then we do. I mean, there's a point where we say, yeah, we're choosing not to be around negative individuals. Sure. I mean, I do it all the time. I choose not to be friends or hang out with people that do not have at least the foundations, the same sort of values that I do. I think that's totally appropriate. But to say that you're only going to do business with people that are like you, that, think like you, that operate like you, and do all that may not bring you actually success. I mean, we are all so different. And what to you seems like repugnant behavior or not appropriate may not be that way for the other individual. So we need to challenge ourselves on that. Okay. So I hope this has been clear. If you have any other questions in regards to this, please do ask. And in the meantime, I'm encouraging you all to live authentically. Take care.